This shit is absolutely terrifying. I heard about an incident happening with Antifa. I heard Washington State before and I heard Berkeley. I'm not sure which location it was at until now. It happened at Berkeley, California, so it did happen in California. But anyway, this is from the Washington Post, the same publication that brought down Richard Nixon. Yes, Antifa is the moral equivalent of neo-Nazis. Even the Washington Post is seeing what YouTubers like me have been saying for a long time now. Last weekend in Berkeley, California, a group of neo-communist Antifa, anti-fascist thugs attacked peaceful protesters at a No to Marxism in America rally, welding sticks and pepper spray and beating people with homemade shields that read, "I kid you not, no hate." The Post reports how one peaceful protester, quote, was attacked by 5 black-clad Antifa members, each windmilling kicks and punches into a man desperately trying to protect himself, unquote. Members of the Berkeley College Republicans were then stalked by Antifa goons who followed them to a gas station and demanded they, quote, get the expletive out, unquote, of their car, warning, quote, we are real hungry for supremacists and there is more of us, unquote. Okay. At colleges, you are bound to have people that disagree with the liberal agenda. And for Antifa, a terrorist group, just like the neo-Nazis, to say, we are real hungry for supremacists and there are more of us, is fucking terrifying. Because not everyone who's a Republican is a Nazi or a racist. I know Republicans who are not racist. I know Republicans who voted for Trump who are not racist. I know Republicans who voted against Trump who have even voted for Hillary and are not racist. There are Republicans who are genuinely compassionate human beings. But these Antifa people who are Democrats are anything but compassionate. The organizer of the anti-Marxism protest is not a white supremacist. Amber Cummings is a self-described transsexual female who embraces diversity and announced on Facebook that any racist group like the KKK and neo-Nazis are not welcome. The protest was needed, Cummings said, because Berkeley is a zero ground for Marxist movement. For the Marxist movement. I agree. Look, I don't want racists like the KKK and neo-Nazis near me, and that includes Antifa. I don't want them near me. And I agree, Berkeley is ground zero for that shit. Because it is the epicenter of the free speech movement. So, yes, I agree with her reasoning why the protest was needed. And keep this in mind, she's a self-described transsexual female who embraces diversity. This is important to remember. Because when you oppose racism and when you are part of the LGBT community, this is where shit gets serious. You're a part of a group already that is hated by people who disagree with us. And when you are a Republican or a conservative and you're in the LGBT community, or even a libertarian in the LGBT community, your head is wanted on a fucking stake. Your head is wanted to be put on a fucking pole. And this is fucking terrifying in California. As if to prove Cummings' point, the Antifa movement responded with jackboots and clubs. If you don't know what a jackboot is, if you if you need to change your tire and you get a flat tire and you conveniently have a donut tire, a jackboot is essentially something that you use to raise the car with. Because their definition of quote-unquote fascist includes not just neo-Nazis, but anyone who opposes with their totalitarian worldview. Yes, finally someone at the Washington Post understands what people like me on YouTube have been talking about. Yes, apparently to them, fascist is anything that is not just neo-Nazis, but if you're a libertarian, you're a fascist. If you're a liberal who disagrees with Antifa, you're a fascist. If you're a reasonable person who disagrees with their fucking worldview, you're a fascist. And let's be clear, totalitarian is precisely what they are. Mark Bray, a Dartmouth lecturer who has defined Antifa's violent tactics, recently explained in the Post, quote, it adheres are predominantly communist, socialist, and anarchist, unquote, who believe physical violence, quote, is both ethically justifiable and strategically effective, unquote. In other words, there are no difference from neo-Nazis. Neo-Nazis are the violent advocates of murderous ideologies that killed 25 million people in the last century. Antifa members who are violent advocates of murderous ideology that, according to the Black Book of Communism, killed between 85 million and 100 people in the last century. Yeah, keep that in mind. The Nazis have a fewer number of kills compared to Antifa, which is, in the last century, 85 million to 100 million. That is shocking. The Nazis have killed a lot of people, but Antifa has killed a shit ton more. Both practice violence and preach hate. They are morally indistinguishable. There is no difference between those who beat innocent people in the name of the ideology that gave us Hitler and Himmler, and those who beat innocent people in the ideology that gave us Stalin and Dzerzhinsky. I think that's how you say his name. Dzerzhinsky, yeah. I just want to say this before I continue. If you are a libertarian or conservative, Republican, whatever, or a liberal at that, and you disagree with the neo-Nazis and Antifa, yes, protesting these fucks is scary. Because if you're going to protest the neo-Nazis, they're bound to beat the living snot out of you. But if you're also bound to protest Antifa, they're also bound to beat the living snot out of you. So, you shouldn't be afraid to protest. I just want to put that out there. You should not be afraid to protest. Because protesting is one of the most important things we could do in this country to fix things for the better. We protested peacefully in the 1960s to get civil rights passed through. And this was people of all races and of all political backgrounds coming together in Washington, D.C. We protested peacefully to get women the right to vote. And to get women the right to work the same jobs as men and get the equal pay as men in the 1970s. So, protesting peacefully is the way to go. But these fucks want to kill you for protesting against them. The United States defeated two murderous ideologies of the 20th century. So we should all be repulsed by the sight of our fellow Americans carrying the banners of either movement, whether they are waving the red flags of communism or black flags of Nazism. Yet, we are not. Communism is not viewed as an evil comparable to Nazism today. It's true. Actually, there's a Fox News interview I suggest you check out on Facebook. And Fox News is not as bad as leftists make it out to be. When I was a leftist, not a liberal, a leftist. When I was a leftist, I was falling under the opinion that Fox News was just this right-wing, conservative, Republican platform. But once I stopped thinking like a Democrat and stopped thinking as a leftist and really promoting liberal values like freedom of speech and all that, even though I don't think freedom of speech is a liberal position anymore because even leftists have hijacked liberalism, I started to watch Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace. And I still watch that every now and then because it is a truly fair and balanced news program on Sunday morning. Now, I started to watch Fox News day shows recently. And they are genuinely what they claim fair and balanced. They might lean conservative on some issues, and there's no denying that they do, but they are genuinely fair and balanced. They do have liberals on there that give the counter opinion to the conservative opinion. So yes, compared to MSNBC, Fox News is actually more fair and balanced than both CNN and MSNBC. That's just from what I've observed of Fox News so far. Not that I'm planning to become a daily viewer at all, but that's just what I got out of it so far. Where was I? Oh yeah. As Alex Griswold recently pointed out, I love that Griswold. If you don't get Chevy Chase films, essentially what I'm pointing out. The New York Times published no fewer than 6 opinion pieces this year defending communism. Leftists did that, not liberals. There's a difference between liberalism and leftism. Thanks to Dennis Prager, I can make the distinction now. Including essays praising Lenin as a conservationist, explaining why Stalinism inspired Americans, and arguing that Bolsheviks were romantics at heart and that women had better sex under communism. Can no one imagine the Times running similar pieces about the Nazis? No. But here's the thing though. Lenin was a fucking dictator, killed millions of fucking people. Stalinism does not inspire Americans. When George Orwell came to America in the I should say near mid 50s or near mid 40s, he did come to America, either 30s, 40s, or 50s. But he published, before he came to America, Animal Farm, which is a book I highly suggest you read. It is completely against Stalinism, and people in America bought this book like hotcakes when it came out. Because, why was this? Because America just was entering World War I, and who were reviving? People like Stalin. And this was perfect propaganda, and I say perfect in the most useful form imaginable. This was the most perfect propaganda against this shit. So it could tell Americans, this is a horrible way to think. This is like a terroristic way of viewing humanity. That's exactly what Animal Farm was about. Claiming that women had better sex under communism makes no sense. just doesn't, because people have sometimes great sex under democracy. So, anyway. Moving on with the article. My mother and grandfather fought the Nazis in Poland during World War II, and her family then endured the Stalinist terror that followed, when Nazi occupation was replaced by Soviet domination. So forgive me, I see little moral distinction between the swastika and the hammer and sickle. Both are evil, and their modern adherents need to be condemned, especially when they dare to commit acts of violence in our midst to advance their hateful visions. Both the left and the right have a responsibility to police their own movements. They should be condemned, I agree, but policing them, like stopping them from protest, honestly, it's not the right thing to do. I'll tell you why. Because if you can stop Antifa and the neo-Nazis from protesting, that means you could stop virtually anybody from protesting. So you don't want to take away their right to protest, but you do definitely want to condemn them every time they do act violently or protest violently. You do want to condemn them every time, but it's the responsibility to, I wouldn't say police, but halt the movements. In the 1960s, William F. Buckley excommunicated the John Birch Society, widely believed to be anti-Semitic and prompted of nutty conspiracy theories from the respectable right, and today conservatives have a responsibility to do the same with the white nationalists of the alt-right. William F. Buckley actually was a very interesting guy. Yeah, I don't agree with all his opinions, but there's a Woody Allen special I highly suggest you check out. It's very fun. It's from 1967. It's 50 years old, but he does talk to William F. Buckley, and he is a very intelligent guy. He's not dumb at all. Those on the left have responsibilities as well. Responsibilities few are meeting. On Monday, I asked the office of the House Minority Leader, Nancy Pelosi, Democrat, California. I thought she was from Washington State. I don't know. For her statement of condemnation. To her credit, Pelosi issued a strong statement today declaring, quote, the violent actions of people calling themselves Antifa in Berkeley this weekend deserve unequivocal condemnation, and the perpetrators should all be arrested and prosecuted. In California, as across all our great nation, we have a deep reverence for the constitutional right of peaceful dissent and free speech. Nonviolence is fundamental to this right. Unquote. That's the first thing I heard Nancy Pelosi say in a long time. I actually agree with her on. I agree with her 100% there. Good for her. I agree. So why haven't more leading Democrats done the same? Good question. Something people like me on YouTube have been asking this whole time. And finally, the Washington Post, or at least this guy of the Washington Post, is realizing we've been telling the truth the whole time. We've been seeing this shit happen right from the get-go, and everybody was laughing at us. Everybody was laughing at us, libertarians, liberals, and conservatives, that were calling out this shit right from the get-go. they were laughing at us. They were saying they have no idea what they're talking about. They're trolling. They're making this shit up. And they're realizing, holy shit, these youngsters on YouTube know what the fuck they're talking about. They're ahead of the game. So they're finally realizing we've been telling the truth the whole time. After Charlottesville, the media rightly demanded President Trump and all Republicans condemn the neo-Nazis of the KKK. So where are the calls for Democrats to condemn Antifa? And the brutal public condemnation for all those who failed to do so. If black-clad neo-Nazis had attacked peaceful protesters at a Note to Racism in America march at Berkeley, politicians in Washington would be falling all over themselves to express their disgust. And any who failed to do so would be vilified. But when neo-communists commit this kind of violence, they get a pass from the left. This cannot be allowed to stand. Great article from the Washington Post. And this person who wrote it is Mark A. Thesian. I think that's his name. Thesian. I don't know. But yes, he is confirming, actually, more than Washington Post, Fox News, MSNBC to a degree, and CNN to a degree, is confirming what people like me have been saying on YouTube for a long time now. They are confirming essentially what we've been saying, that Antifa is just as bad as the neo-Nazis, even worse than the neo-Nazis. And turns out our predictions have been right from the get-go. And if our predictions are even more right, then we're fucked. We're fucked. If our predictions are even more right than they are now, we're fucked. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will link this article in the description down below, so you can send it to your Republican or Democrat or Libertarian friends that don't believe that Antifa is as bad as the neo-Nazis. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. See ya.